These are the early morning hours of November 10th, and I think I am Jude, but I'm not totally for sure because I just woke up and I'm very discombobulated, as we usually are when we wake up. Usually when we wake up, we don't know immediately who we are. Because, you just don't think about things like that, especially when something bad wakes you up. And something bad just woke me up. And I'll probably put it in the middle here. But I wet the bed. And I do that every once in a while. Like, I'd say about once a year, sometimes more if things are going on and I get really stressed out. And then I think Harper controls all of that, and she's not very good at it. Like, as our main biological side that never grew up, I think that she controls those processes. And when she falls completely asleep, like, I don't feel her right now. So when she falls completely asleep, it's like we've got no control over that. Sometimes we'll have a dream. Sometimes we'll have a dream that we're trying to find a bathroom and can't find the bathroom. And then we find a bathroom and it's horrible. Like, it's so nasty. And then we try to pee and we wake up and we're peeing the bed. But now that's when she's totally not conscious because we're asleep, but still aware. And she'll have a dream. And it'll definitely be a Harper dream. It will not be one of my dreams. I think. Okay, I'm getting in my head. Somebody's saying that it could be one of your dreams. You don't know. Because that is true. It's not like I know exactly who I am in my dreams, you know? It's not something that you always think about. You don't always think about, who am I? Because you know, like, society told you who you were. So that's who you are. But that's not always who you are. And in our dreams, it's the same way. It's like we wake up in our dreams, or we have a dream, and like we could probably pinpoint out who was who and who was having the dream, maybe. But I'm pretty sure that I'm Jude right now. And just based on the way that I feel about it all, just total shame. And embarrassment, and the knowledge that I'm different. Okay, that might be Jesse coming through. Or it might be me. Or we might all be one person, and this is all a JJ delusion. I have a lot of that goes on. I know that I'm different than the whole JJ, though. So since I'm different than the whole JJ, I would think that it's real. Because I would never do some of the things that they do. But I guess maybe I will wet the bed. I don't know. We were a bedwetter until we were about 13. Until we went through puberty. And I think it partially had to do with scarred kidneys, maybe. I don't know. some doctor can tell us maybe when you have lots and lots of kidney infections, does that affect your ability to hold your urine? I don't know. We do a pretty good job of that overall now during waking hours. Like, during waking hours, I don't remember having many accidents. Only if Harper would be outside playing and wouldn't want to come in to take a break and use the bathroom. And then sometimes she'd wait too late and she'd pee on herself. I do remember that happening a few times. And I remember there was one time that she was really, really, really cold at night. So cold. And our bathroom was always even colder than that. Like, it was always so, so cold. And she didn't want to get up and go to the restroom. And she was awake. And she thought to herself, well, I know that pee is warm, so maybe I should just pee the bed and then I'll be warm. And so she did that. And it was not warm for long. Not warm for long. So whether or not you go with my delusion and believe that it was Harper, which we're pretty certain that it was Harper, or whether you think that it was me and I'm just the one JJ, but I'm not anything like them. I don't feel like them. I don't think like them. And I don't like wetting the bed for sure, even though it happens very rarely now. And immediately upon realization, I get up and try to clean everything. I think that's like my job, is to make our life clean, but our life is not clean. It's not clean. We live in my house is pretty hoarded. And then I live in a house that's 250 years old. Now, part-time. And that house is not clean. I mean, when I show you this mattress, you're going to be like, girl, get a new mattress. But all the furniture is like this, and I can't get rid of anything for a particular reason that I won't go into because that has to do with somebody else. But, it's my life. And it's a pretty good one. It's a pretty good life. God has given me a pretty good life, but I wish I wouldn't do this at 53 years old. You know, I wish I wouldn't have done it at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. They didn't have good nights in the 70s and 80s, so I just wasn't able to have sleepovers, which was fine during some of those years because the kids were so mean. I remember I got invited to a sleepover once. I think my parents were friends with her parents, and they probably forced her to invite me. And she was a year older anyway, so, but I got invited and I was super excited. But then I knew that I was a bedwetter and that I couldn't spend the night. So I think my mom told him that I would get homesick or something, which made me look even worse. I don't know, but I remember my mom came and picked me up, and, you know, it is what it is. This is Jesse, JJ4. And I guess Jude and Bre are damn determined to ruin my life. You don't tell people that you wet the bed at 53 years old. You don't tell people that you wet the bed as an adult. So I guess I'm going to give a little historical background. I had recurrent kidney infections and also worms from a small girl due to unclean water in our home. Our home was fed by a spring, and every time that it would rain, the pond, which was up from the spring, would flood into the spring. And so our water would be mud then, and we would bathe in that. That was our bath water. Now, my mother would not let us drink the water, but she caught my dad a few times getting drinks from the water and giving us kids drinks from the water. My sister almost died when she was little. She had this disease called campylobacter. Oh, I was Jesse. I think I've switched into Jude. Not for sure. Or maybe I'm still Jesse and she's just in the background crying. But yeah, our sister almost died. I guess she was younger than 2 or 3 because my mom had been trying to, I don't need to go into detail about her private stuff. But anyway, I kept recurrent kidney infections. And then when I was 7, I had to go to the hospital for a procedure where I was catheterized. And it was a very traumatic experience. If they used pain medication, it did not work because it was horrific pain. And I do think that I'm Jude again. And that was when Jesse was born, we think. I mean, and maybe she had existed before then, but she came into full consciousness at that event because I do remember that she was holding us because we had all been screaming and the nurses were holding me down or holding Harper down. I think Harper was the one that was fronting. And the nurses were holding Harper down, and the doctor was shoving this catheter in me, and I could feel it. And I don't know if that's why I was a bedwetter until I was 13, but I would think that it would have something to do with it. I'm not a doctor, though. I have 2 masters, but I'm not a doctor, and did not do very good at science, so yeah, we're kind of switching back and forth because that's something that Jesse would remind people of. So maybe I'm Jesse again. But anyway, And maybe with a little bit of Bre because we're falling apart a bit. So, kidney infections. And then, did I ever pee on anyone else in the bed? One time in my first marriage when I was very, very young, because we got married at 18. He was just 17. And I was pregnant. And one time I did. I'm not for sure if I was pregnant or if it was after, but he had a bad habit. Oh, that's giving private information about him. I convinced him that it was him, which was a douche move on my part. It would have been Bre that convinced him, because he would have been upset if he'd known that it was me. So, upset with me. And so she convinced him that it was him. And then in my second marriage, there were a couple of times, and I lived with a fiance. There were a couple of times that I, did it on myself, but didn't bother him with it. Like laid a towel down and waited until the morning to clean it up. I think that I am more aware whenever there's someone else in the bed with me, because I slept with my babies all along when they were tiny, and I never wet the bed then. I think it's something that when I am safe and very, very tired, like it only happens when I'm exhausted, and I'm pretty exhausted right now. And it doesn't happen very often now because I don't know what I was saying. Why I was saying that it doesn't happen very often. I had a train of thought. I don't know. We're switching a little. It's distressing. I do not like it. And it makes me realize how totally not normal I am. Because adult women don't wet the bed. That's not something that you do. I do think now that I think I've got a kidney infection starting, or a UTI, because my lower back is really hurting. My lower back hurts all the time anyway because I've got degenerative disc disease and sciatica. But I get UTIs every once in a while also. So and I thought I had one starting about a month ago, and then I took some azo, and it kind of eased off, but it feels like it might be starting again. Usually the lower back pain is the key. So yeah, I'm sure the degenerative disc disease has something to do with it. Also, we take a muscle relaxer to sleep because otherwise cannot sleep at all from the post-infectious syndrome. It's that chronic pain condition that I've got ever since China. Yeah, if I don't take a muscle relaxer, it's going to be tossing and turning all night long. And I guess sometimes maybe that gets me into a deeper sleep. Not for sure. But it seems like the consensus is that we're going to be sharing this crap with the world. So I figured I'd share my part of it